The Payette Forest Coalition has been together since 2009 and are a key element to providing stewardship to our public lands. The coalition is independent from the Forest Service and brings all interest groups together. Recently, the coalition held a field trip to view work they helped accomplish on the forest. The coalition is looking for new members to join their group.
Today we are out taking a look at some of the Mill Creek Council Mountain project, which is one of the projects of the Payette Forest Coalition's Collaborative Forest Landscape Restoration Project. We have been engaged in public land management issues for decades. Since 1973, the Idaho Conservation League has been the voice for conservation in Idaho, and so as the state's leading voice for conservation in the state, we feel that it's really critically important to be involved in discussions around our public lands, protection of wildlife, restoration of forests, protection of water quality, those kinds of things.
We were hoping that this tour today would invigorate some other involvement in the coalition.
Why are we here? What is the Payette Forest Coalition all about? We talk about the interests and passions of the members of the coalition, what brought us all together, why do we care about this forest. And we talk about our public lands, the importance of those public lands in our local communities and in our personal lives. And we talk about the condition of the forest. How is it from a health standpoint, from a sustainability standpoint, and what do we need to change to make sure these forests are still here for the next 30 generations?
That's why we've really invested in each and every one of the different collaborative processes around the state, and the Payette Forest Coalition is one example of that.
We're able to look at watershed improvements as well as timber management, recreational opportunities, and reducing fire risks to the forests overall. We can look at a lot of improvements for wildlife habitat, for bird habitat, as well as recreational opportunities. The Donley Snowmobile Club was able to build a restroom up on West Mountain. We were able to include that restroom as a part of the Mill Creek Council Mountain project.
Some of these guys, they put in a lot of work, and we have some really good people on our coalition, knowledgeable retired Forest Service people, county commissioners, and you need voices from all sides.
What we really need is the diversity. We need to make sure we anchor that diversity from the timber interest and the economic interest to the environmental interests and everything in between. We're inclusive, not exclusive. And so the more the merrier, but we have to have those diverse interests involved.
Collaboration is proving to be productive. Because of collaboration, a lot of forests, not just the Payette National Forest, but a lot of forests around Idaho and around the country are getting work done on the ground.
We're opened up, or we will open up once the project's complete, so many miles of new habitat.
There are social concerns about economics, about people having places to recreate, so we would invite people who like to camp in the woods to join the coalition. There are environmental and ecological concerns, so we encourage people who belong to groups like the Audubon Society, Idaho Conservation League, Wilderness Society, anybody who has an interest in long-term sustainability of our public lands might have an interest in joining the Payette Forest Coalition.
It's a good opportunity to get your comments heard and to be involved in the ground floor before the project is fairly well outlined, to be able to get the components in that are important to you.
So we'll remove these undesirable trees. We'll thin out some of these desirable trees and openings like that ponderosa.
I work with Idaho Recreation Council because that group represents a whole spectrum of recreation across the entire state. And I'm able to get comments and ideas from them that I can bring to the Payette Forest Coalition.
Jim and Mac have been really accommodating to go with these changes that we're doing to these prescriptions.
When you go to your forest today, go and visit your national forest, you might see areas that are really, really thick. The trees are very small and packed close together. In these forests around here, that's not natural. And fire by itself is not a bad thing, but when it occurs, we want to be able to keep it from doing too much damage to the landscape or to our rural communities and private property and other infrastructure. So one of the best benefits we've seen so far is being able to treat patches of ground so that it's easier for firefighters to control fire when it gets started.
This ground behind me was logged about 6 months ago. And what's remarkable about it is not what left the site, but what was left on the site. When they came in and did the logging, what they did is they removed some of the trees, taking away fuels that would carry a fire into the crowns of the big trees that they left behind. This site will be better for wildlife like goshawks, and this site will also be more resilient to fire. So this is an example of what forest management in the 21st century can look like.
I think you'll see a lot more progress in the next couple of years as more work is done on these stewardship sales.
We're always encouraging people to join the coalition. Anybody who recreates on the forest, anybody who cares about forest health, either for today or long term into the future. It could be people who like to hunt. We have lots of big game hunters in Idaho, obviously. We really encourage those folks to come forward and talk about their passions and what they want to see in terms of wildlife habitat. That's one of our driving objectives, is making sure we sustain good wildlife habitat for all the species that live on this forest.
We're pleased with what we've seen and certainly look forward to continuing to be involved.
It's satisfying. We need to do this on a much larger scale. We're learning the lessons here. We now need to take those lessons and put them in new places and do more of it.